council meeting this evening. All council members are accounted for. Tonight's devoted to discussion of our CMCG applicants for our public safety facilities. And we're going to go as follows. We'll have 4 interviews from 6 to 6:20. The Hughes Construction Company will present, and then we'll have 10 minutes for Q&A. And then Hogan will be at 6:30, Big D at 7, Layton at 7:30. We'll then have an executive session to discuss the 4 applicants and figure out if we're going to make a decision tonight. And if we do decide to make a decision, we'll come out of executive session, and then we'll reconvene and have a decision. Anything we want to add to that?
I think you got it spot
Okay.
on.
I don't know the principals, so I'm going to let you folks go ahead and introduce yourselves. Just come up and give us your info, and let's get going.
Can I just, as the presenters are coming up, that microphone, you need to speak right into the tip in order for it to fully broadcast. So it is mobile. If you actually need to pick it up and move it up to your mouth,
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
that's
Okay.
fine.
Thank you for inviting us, Hughes Construction, to your city chambers and being invited to be shortlisted on the Pleasant Grove Fire Station, Police, and Justice Courts building. I feel at home with the scouts behind me because I spend so much time with scouts, so I feel welcome. Thank you. Let me introduce who we brought to as part of our team. My name's Lynn Henricks. I'm the project executive. I have over 30 years experience in construction. I've been a licensed architect for 26 years, and I've been on your side of the table as a building owner for 22 years in both state and federal government. I've been with Hughes for the last 3.5 years. Mike Nichols, raise your hand, Mike, is our project manager. Mike has been 22 years with Hughes Construction and very experienced project manager as well. Greg Robinson is our estimator. Greg has been the last 15 years with Hughes and 19 years experience overall. Blaine Gibson, our superintendent, has 40 years in the industry and the last 9 years with Hughes. And Sarah Piggott, who is our project engineer, and she has been the last 2 years with Hughes and 9 years in the industry. All of this team, this entire team, has worked together on multiple projects and also with your architect, JRCA, and is currently working with them on another project. Let me talk a little bit about our company. Hughes has been in business since 1958, incorporated, and we're in our 59th year. We at Hughes do 80% of our work volume in CMGC delivery. So only about 20% is either design build or hard bid projects. So we understand this delivery process. Hughes has today 244 employees in its company and subsidiary companies. And because of that, we have some highly specialized things we can do, like concrete finishing and techniques. We can do whatever. We can do more than almost anybody you'll talk to tonight in concrete finishing. As a general contractor, we have more heavy pieces of equipment than any general contractor in the state. We have our own aggregates supply plant. We produce aggregates and sell them and provide them to all different contractors. We also have our own asphalt plant that became operational last year and is a great success. Here's some of the recent projects we have finished that are similar to your project, not identical, but have some similar features. The Santa Clara Town Hall, some of you may have seen, the Farmington City Hall, North Salt Lake City Hall, the Duchesne County 8th District Court building has 3 courtrooms in it. Bluffdale City Hall, which we're just finishing right now. The Hanan Equipment building, which is similar to what your needs would be in the fire station. And the Murray School District administrative offices and bus maintenance facilities. I want to talk a little bit about what the CMGC process is, because some of you may not have experienced it. And I, as being an owner for 22 years and hiring contractors to do this very thing, I got frustrated many times with what happened. So I'm going to tell you a little about that, and the type is a little small, so I apologize. But we have our bobblehead guy, Bob, that's there, and he nods his head at everything. Most of the time when you go through a design portion of a project, if your contractor's just nodding his head up and down, then it's really not good. You need input from that person, and you need it timely when you're in this process to get it done, to make the important decisions at the right time. I saw many times people just going along to get along. They would give us square foot estimates based on projects that may or may not be related to yours. That they've talked with their subcontractors and said, well, you're working on a job right now, what did that bid per square foot? And then they'll plug that into your job. And then by the time they're done, and they give their constructability review, but it usually will not be formal. It'll be verbal, and a lot of times you don't remember this. You're about to head into a process where there is a lot of information. If that information is not managed appropriately, then you'll not remember what was said earlier. So the problem with doing a lackadaisical approach like this can have some bad results. One of the results could be on bid day you're over budget with your project, and that would result in you needing to redesign the job and would essentially mean a delay in your project. Or you could be significantly under your budget. I've seen both of these happen. In that scenario, you would lose scope and you would lose less building and potentially value in your project that you wanted. And overall, you just have unpredictable results. So at Hughes, we have a process that we think can give you a project within budget the first time. And so how do we do that? So first of all, the most important part is we do an in-depth estimate. And that in-depth estimate is a takeoff from our people that look at your building and your site in a very intricate fashion. They do that at the SD, which is schematic design, design development level, and then at the 90% level, and keep that going all along. Our estimator goes to every design meeting and provides immediate input when there's questions. What if we do this? And, well, if you did that, then it's going to cost this much. Or if you took this out, you could save enough. And we give feedback on the fly. We are also people that put our input into the process when it needs to be put there. So the schematic design phase is the critical moment in your project when you have to make decisions on the configuration of your buildings, whether it's one building or two buildings, or whether there's the configuration of that and how it fits on your site. If you make a decision and proceed into design development and then you change your mind, at that point it will cost you time and money to the designer to change the design. So there's I can't emphasize that enough. There's a critical point at that juncture to have accurate estimates and accurate constructability reviews from the contractor to tell you if you're on track or not. Our results typically are within 1 to 2% of the estimate. Sometimes we do value engineering, that's called VE, and typically that on our jobs, we don't even have to redesign to do that. We just come up with ideas from the subs. You could change your electrical package, light fixtures and you could save $25,000, and that may get you into budget. Being a municipal entity, you have a hard fixed budget. I understand that. So what you want to hire is somebody who can accurately dial into what that budget is. And so all this means that you can get to a quick transition to your construction, and you don't have to rebid and you don't have to redesign. And we have done this over and over and over and over. And I'm going to have Greg talk a little bit about how he estimates to be accurate, and then we're going to have Blaine talk a little about the site, And then Mike will talk about project delivery and schedule, and Sarah will talk about project documentation.
As Lynn mentioned, accurate estimating is key to the success of the pre-construction phase of this project. And we have processes in place to make sure that we are accurate with our estimating so there's no surprises on bid day. Recently, we just finished up the Duchesne County 8th District Court. This is a complicated addition and remodel project. And the design phase estimate that we had, $6,696,402. The final GMP that we gave the owner after the bid documents were complete, just over $6.7 million. That's just less than $6,000 off. So that was a project that was very successful with the estimating and bidding. Another one that we are just finishing up right now is the Bluffdale City Hall. That one we were within just 1%. So that one was also very accurate and one that they were very pleased with in that process. And you'll ask yourself, why is this so important to have this accurate estimating? Well, we know that the budget is fixed, and we will work with the architect, work with you to make sure that we have a building that meets your needs, that's designed very functionally, and will be on budget. We have a great following of subcontractors, and we have qualified subcontractors that we will bring to the table that will bid this project very competitively. We recently looked at a project that if you take away that low subcontractor bid, if we had not received that bid, the project would have been 6% higher. And on this size of a job, that equals $600,000. So we have numerous qualified subs that are very interested and do these kinds of projects for us day in and day out.
Greg. Safety, that's our number one priority at Hughes. We try to send everybody home just the way they came, and to facilitate that, we have about 90% of those 244 employees are OSHA certified. And within an industry of such as construction, that's really quite a statement. But because of your site conditions, the nature of this project is going to take constant nurturing. One of the things that we want to do is we've looked at the site and the potential of the project. As soon as your strawberry days are complete, we want to team up with you and put up a 10-foot privacy fence all the way around the project, which will separate us from the public and also allow you to demo your buildings without a lot of curious sidewalk superintendents, if you will. So we want to do that. Also, we'll work with your city as far as ordinances. I think you're probably 7 to 10 for noise, and that's pretty much what we do throughout most of the cities. We'll work closely with you, hand in hand. I'll get to know your police chief, your fire chief, and all those who take part in the project for input and for things that we can do to help the public be friendlier, whatever we need to do. We'll keep the public safe through barricading. The parks, we know that they'll be busy, so we'll maintain safe conditions around the parks. And to be able to do that, we'll keep the sidewalks, the asphalt clean. Speaking of asphalt, we'll try to keep the asphalt around the building, the existing site there, as long as we can to keep the dust down and have a place to do what staging we can do that. But we will eventually need to bring on more material. And so we'll ask you where we can stage some of our material, the joists, the beams, columns, things like that, as we feed the job. But we'll also use on-time deliveries, just-in-time deliveries with our suppliers so that we get the material to the site as we need it for the day's work. And that'll help cut down a lot on the congestion out in the street, trying to unload trucks, load trucks, material in and out. We'll use a smaller job site trailer for our meetings and coordinations. We'll invite the subcontractors to park off-site in parking lots that are around close, and then carpool into the site to go to work. During the times we are unloading trucks, offloading trucks, we'll use flaggers, and we're very familiar with road safety and what we need to do to interact with the public there. And also, when we hear the fire bells go off, we'll make sure that everybody is shut down and out of the way so that we can get you can get the fire trucks in and out safely. Let's see. We'll keep dumpsters on site to keep things clean. Concrete's always a big deal. We'll have washout tubs where we can have access to them to keep the washout out of the streets and keep it contained. We'll use measures to control dust, whatever we need to do there, whether it's work off of a hydrant nearby or bring in a water truck to maintain dust control. All of these activities will help us control the site, keep our conditions where we can manage the job and get done on time and move forward.
I want to talk to you about our project management and scheduling approach. We involve our subcontractors when we are putting together our project schedule so that you get a realistic, timely, understandable schedule. We especially involve our major subcontractors, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, structural, so that it's a well thought out, well planned out schedule. We also, on our schedules, will continue to update those monthly so we can track them. We can see if we're missing anything anywhere. We can track procurement of materials, especially, long lead time items, sometimes masonry materials and things like that. Mechanical, plumbing materials are long lead times, so we got to make sure that those are coming in so they don't affect the schedule. We also, on our management side, we will hold a pre-construction conference, and that's where we involve the whole team, us, our subcontractors, architect, and the owner. And we want to make sure that everybody's on the same page and everybody understands how this project is going to be constructed and what their responsibilities are, so that we don't have any issues throughout the project. Oh, I didn't know, or things like that. We also hold pre-installation meetings. These are very important, particularly for things like structural steel, masonry, above ceilings. Okay, those are very congested areas that if we don't go in beforehand and make sure that all the mechanical, electrical, lighting, those kind of things will fit. We got to make sure we plan that out so that doesn't affect the schedule. And then at closeout, what we want to do is we will do certain things. We call it a mock fire marshal inspection. We go through and we act like we're the fire marshal, and we check all the systems so that when he comes, we have it all ready to go, and we don't have those issues to where then we have to come back and re-inspect. We'll also do our own punch list before we ask Jim and you all to go through, so we catch the majority of items, so we don't have a punch list that's this thick. These are some of the items we do in closeout. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. I want to talk really quickly about communication and documentation. We've been using Bluebeam on all of our projects, which is a cloud-based platform which allows everyone on the project to view all the documents in real time. So as soon as there's a change on the project or an update, everyone can see it right now, and that's us, that's the architect, subcontractors, and you guys as well. Submittals, that's the information that we'll receive from the subcontractors on their products that they'll be using. I'll receive that from them and review it, check it, compare it to the specifications, make sure it's compliant, and then I send it on to the architect. RFIs kind of work the same way. Those are requests for information. So when there's a question that someone has on the job site, they'll send it to me. I submit it, track it, and And we keep it logged and bring it up in meetings regularly to make sure that, we get our information coming back and make sure there's no delays on the project. Meetings are another thing that I will document. Here's an example of meeting minutes for a different project that we're working on. They'll be clear, they'll be organized, easy to understand. I always send out the meeting minutes within a day or two of the meeting. And I'm always sure to send out the meeting agenda the day before to give everyone a chance to review and prepare for the meeting. And there's a lot of other documentation that kind of works in the same way. We'll be documenting it, keeping track of it, just to keep the process moving, make sure nothing gets held up. I'll send it back to Lynn.
Thank you. As you can tell, I have a qualified team beneath me, but that doesn't mean that I will not stay in, or you won't see me again. I stay involved throughout the project. Why pick Hughes? Why pick us, our team? You'll see other qualified teams here tonight, but we have past experience with this size of project especially. It's the type of project that's in our wheelhouse. We know how to do this kind of stuff. We know this project delivery. We know your architect. We have a good working relationship with them. We have a good working relationship with the other owners and municipalities that we work with, and the counties and the state. We provide a comprehensive pre-construction service. As a prior owner, I can say we provide the most comprehensive pre-construction service with authority. Accuracy of estimates is a big deal when you're doing CMGC. If you don't have that, you might as well not do CMGC, in my opinion. Quality of workmanship with Hughes, you get a company that's dedicated to high quality. If it doesn't get done right by the sub the first time, then we make sure that you don't have to get bent out of shape to get it fixed. We take care of it. So with that, I think we've taken our time, and we're open for questions from you. So please,
Okay, Council,
challenge
go
us.
ahead.
So, question: You're currently on the Bluffdale. I called up there and talked to them, and Mayor Tim.
Dirk Timothy, the mayor. Yep.
He was impressed with the process and your open dialogue and straightforwardness, whatever, which I like, straight up. But you're currently working with JRC on that project.
That's
is that
correct.
Can you kind of tell us of what you've learned from that project?
Well, I think that the city had maybe a little bit of an unrealistic idea as far as schedule went. So we tried to help them understand from the beginning that what they wanted in putting a full basement under that building, and the size of it was, and the complexity if you're providing, a justice court inside, that needs to be taken into consideration. To do the job right, it was going to take a little more time than what they had initially thought, and they agreed with us. And so we proceeded down that road, and I think they learned a lot, and we did too during the process, but they didn't have a lot of experience in construction, so we helped them along the ways. And that's the thing about CMGC. You're hiring not just a general contractor, you're hiring a construction manager. And so we see it as our job to help you understand the process and to make it as transparent as possible, so that if you have a question about any cost or how any allowance is being spent, that is detailed out and there's absolutely no question. Every piece of communication that goes between us and the architect and you will be open to view. So we're very accustomed to that process, and it's just our way of doing business. So what else can I say, Mike?
I can also say that I think Jim backs us up, but we work really well. Done jobs, all the 2 jobs with them. They do a great job. We communicate well, we work out issues well, because there's going to be issues in every project. It's not perfect. We work together really well. His team a long time ago, we built 35 or 40 Little Caesars together. So we've kind of had a relationship for a long time.
They're still in business. You did good.
So anyway, that's what I would take from it.
I have a question regarding our old rec center right here. And I don't know if this is the contractor, the architect, or it's a third party that comes in, but when it has a lot of history and heritage and we want to preserve what we can from the building, the process of taking it down, have you dealt with this before with old structures? How do we, if the public wants to be involved as far as if there's bricks or something they can take, how do we handle that with the old rec, and how does your firm handle that?
Yes, we can be as sensitive as you want us to be, or we can be as insensitive as you want us to be. So, on the Duchesne Courthouse, for example, there were some murals that were painted on sheetrock walls, not too dissimilar from your walls here, that were painted by prisoners over the years. And I don't think they'd win any art award, but they meant a lot to the folks there. And they wanted to know, could we save those? Well, as you know, sheetrock is attached to studs, and it doesn't come off real easy, but I'll tell you what, Blaine found a way to do it. So they got them taken off and fixed up and framed, and they hang in the new building today. So we can be sensitive to that kind of stuff, and if you need the bricks to come down without being broken too much, we can make sure that happens too.
Okay.
And I just, sorry, Sid, we've instructed the CMGCs that the contract to take down the rec center, the city's gonna do outside of
Okay.
this. So
Okay.
if they have somebody that can do it and bid on the project, then
Okay. That's
they
good
can
to
be a
know.
part of that. But in essence, that's something the city's gonna do.
Okay.
But if you have concerns and want something very specific, give me a call, I'll come down and do it for you.
Okay.
Yeah, Blaine
Okay.
is a jack of all trades. He can do just about anything.
Have you worked with our owners' reps before? Dave Holdaway and Guy Fugel.
Our company has, I haven't, that's Alpine School District. We did many projects in the past, school projects, which is a big majority of our work along with other public buildings, but yes.
Do you have any, when you said the meetings, do you have any open houses combined with the architect for the public?
We're flexible on other projects. We have done what is needed. We've come here tonight after work to meet with you. And on a recent project that we finished up in Woods Cross, we spearheaded a public night for the ribbon cutting that ended up very successfully with a lot of venues set up to entertain the public. And Ariel over here, who I didn't, he's our marketing manager, he spearheaded that and did a great job. So we have capability to put things on the web and to do, we encourage you to go to our website and look at other projects and things that we specialize in.
Then one of the things I'm curious about and was impressed when Sarah was talking about the Bluebeam software package you use to keep the elected body even informed of where things are at in the progress. How frequently do you anticipate we get updates on cost estimates, and how easy is this Bluebeam to use, Sarah, maybe?
Well, she will train you how to use it. And so like out in Grantsville, the mayor said, I can't make this work. And she went in and he found out he was pretty computer illegible, but she trained him and got him up and running, and now he understands how to get the information. So, yeah, it'll be something that you'll wonder how you did it without. But on updating the estimates, those will be given out in meetings, and then we can post them to that same website. So if you ever want access to it, they're right there. And then we give access to each of you individually through an email that she sends out. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Anything else?
One of the things we'd be interested in is keeping the public informed through our own website, but not by us transcribing all this kind of info. Do you have a method of showing a timeline, the progress on where we're at, and the steps?
Also, so that it can inform them about open houses.
However, the mayor up in Bluffdale, he flies a drone over our project weekly, and then he posts that.
We have one of those.
I'm not sure if he puts it in Facebook or where he puts it, but yeah. It seems to be more popular these days.
Oh, how fun.
We just want one drone up at a time.
20 drones flying over.
So you're saying we could have a specific site that we could advertise on our city site that residents could watch the progress, pictures, updates, things like that? Okay.
Real-time camera, webcam constantly,
Oh, that's that exciting.
like watching grass grow.
That's not a bad idea. I mean,
That can
a lot of
be
people do
done.
watch big projects.
It just costs a little money.
I mean, if they're gonna watch a giraffe having a baby, maybe we could.
Looking at your intended time frame, you've had a lot of opportunity to review our material, to prepare for this. What are you anticipating right now as big milestones as far as time frame goes?
In the RFP, it listed approximately a 12-month period. And I think what we said is, schedule-wise, it's not inconceivable that the amount of square footage you're asking for could be built within that period. However, there's some complexities. The time of year that you start, if you're going to start in the winter and then you're going to do masonry through the winter, that tends to add time. Let's see, some other complexities is the courtroom finishes. So because there's a courtroom in this building, that tends to be the driving factor, or what we call the critical path for the project. So you can't, or we don't, install millwork for the courtroom until the building HVAC system is up and operational. And so that has to work first, and then that means that everything that leads up to that has to be the most important. And then the millwork gets done, and then finishing those courtrooms with the audio-visual systems and microphones and sophisticated controls that folks like to have, or the judges like to have these days, that just doesn't happen overnight. That stuff really takes 6 to 8 weeks to make happen after the millwork is in. And so there is a lot that goes into this, and because of that, if you take your buildings, for example, and separate them and have 2 buildings, then it may be a different answer. What is the duration versus 1 building? And yet you had, most of your schemes showed 2 buildings. And so we're open-minded. We're not going to shut the door on it. We will analyze it the best we can and give you a realistic schedule for the work that you're proposing. Now, so one of the complications we saw was, if you're going to stay in the fire station, it sounds like you are, until a new fire station is built, well, and then if you want something built where that is, that means something entirely different. So we've done projects like that. So I've just finished a job up in Evanston where we did basically that. It was a combination police, UDOT, driver's license facility, same dollar size as this project, all one building, and built behind their existing facilities. Then when that was done, they moved in. Then we tore down their old facilities and then put a parking lot in front of it. So, but that takes a little more time to do, because you're then having to access that site that was occupied before to do construction on it after. So we don't know where this is going to end up, but what we commit to you is that in that schematic design phase, we'll do as many schedule analysis for as many design options that Jim's office comes up with that you require of them, to say, okay, if you do this, this is how long it's going to take. If you do that, this is how long it's going to take, because you're starting at this time of the year, because you're this size of building, because. So we're not out to try to buffalo anybody. It takes a while to do good construction. And the guys that I have here, and lady, they know what they're doing. So that's what you're hiring, is the experience. Anything else we can help you with?
Warranty after it's built?
Well, we provide the typical 1-year warranty, but sometimes the architects list longer warranties for certain products, like your roofing. It's not uncommon to get a 20-year warranty on a roof, a membrane roof, for example, and other features too, where there's equipment that may be involved that may have longer warranty life cycle on it, and that's fine. You can specify that as you go along, and we can also give you real time, well, what would it cost if I wanted this kind of warranty on this piece of equipment in the fire station? And we can feel out the proposers, the vendors, and the bidders at that time. Well, it's going to cost you a little more money to get that. They don't just give those out. So, sure.
With warranty, a lot of times in project documents, it'll say, come back at 11 months and do an 11 month. What we do is we want to come quarterly to the site and walk through whatever officials you want there to check on things. And then my phone always works for any issues that you're going to have. If you have an issue with your building, you call me. We like to do a quarterly walkthrough of that warranty period, particularly in mechanical systems. We'll have to make adjustments on.
Any other questions, council? Any closing remarks?
Well, choose us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
for
much.
the
Appreciate
time.
that. Helps.
We're optimistic. We hope that you choose in our favor. We hope that our fee shows well with the others. We think we typically do, and we will work the hardest of any team you get to give you what you want. So thank
All right.
you.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you for your time. That was impressive.
Not you shake hands because I have a little bit of a cold, but thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks for making the trip.
Cold, so I'm just here. We'll do kind of something. Okay, I have a little bit of a cold, so we'll just kind of. Thanks.
I don't know how to do it.
A little bit of a cold, so we'll just kind of. Hi. I don't know if I have a cold. It could just be allergies.
Do you want to sit back here where Dave is? Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming.
A little bit of a cold.
The smart one.
Allergies on.
Cute. You didn't figure it out?
On the air.
I don't know how to do it.
Do we have a remote for that? I know Dion usually handles it.
Okay, we're.
Oh! Ben Stanley.
Hi. I have a little bit of a cold.
Hi.
A little bit of a cold. I'm Sid. Yeah, nice to meet you. Hi. Yeah, kind of. I don't know, allergies, whatever, but just give me a second.
Nice to meet you, Chris.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, Scott.
little bit of a cold
Nice to
or
meet you,
allergy or
Ross.
something. So we'll just kind of,
Mine are always cool anyway.
I'm sure it's just alright. I'm sure I didn't get used to it. I'm good. Thank you. Allergies are nice.
Yeah, we sat down with all of them. They all we're happy with any of them.
Gauge that.
Better than everybody else.
Child.
Yeah.
That feels good. She's the jack of all trades. She can do it all.
That's a remote. I can do it. He's good doing that.
Yeah, yeah.
Scott, that was a fun thing at lunch today. It's awesome. Good. Good job of the cross section of different kinds of things. It's good. Have to get Ken next year though. He's impressive.
That's way good.
Okay, we want to welcome Hogan here. And why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves? We'll have 20 minutes of your presentation and 10 minutes of
Okay.
Oh,
My name's
sorry.
Oh,
Can you talk right into the tip of that microphone?
You can pick it up actually and then
Oh.
stand normally.
If you don't, it's
is
kind
it
of
better to pick it up? Oh, that's now I can hear myself.
That's how we want.
Okay. Thank you. My name's Chris Hogan, the president of Hogan Construction. This is Steve. My mind just went totally blank. That's a great way to start out.
You've worked together
Steve
for 30
Spencer, our
years.
job superintendent. Scott Briner is our project manager, and Ross Cox is our lead estimator for the project. Aaron Metcalf, who's going to hide over there, is our marketing director. And so you just want us to go ahead and start? Or? All right. Well, I do need to hold that or it fades out. We're really excited to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. We love presenting and being here with Pleasant Grove. We want to talk about our team and our experience and some ideas that we have for this project. And so we kind of, I wanted to mention though, as we go through, if we spark something in your mind that a question, feel free to jump in and ask. We don't have to save them to the end unless it has to be that protocol, but we'd like to bring those up as we go along. We've brought our A team to this project. I want you to know this is an extremely experienced team, and we're really excited about this project. We feel this fits us perfectly, and we think we're a perfect fit for the project. So our team, let me introduce a couple people. We kind of went through this already. Dave Anderson is the executive in charge of this project, project director.
we'll kind of go through some of his experience. He'll be involved in the pre-construction mainly. Scott Briner and Steve Spencer, we talked about already, introduced them to you. They'll tell you a little more about their experience here in a minute. Mark Jensen is our pre-construction manager, and Ross, I mentioned, is the lead estimator that make up the estimating portion of this. You've got our statement of qualifications. Hopefully you've had a chance to read through that. And so a couple of things. We've been in business for a very long time, have an excellent safety record, a wealth of projects experience to bring to this project, and 34 municipal clients. We've worked with a lot of different municipalities on similar types of projects. We're kind of known, have a bit of a reputation as a school builder, which is a great thing. We're proud of that. I've worked with Dave Holdaway for many, many years with the Alpine School District. But we don't want to be pigeonholed into that box, because we also have a wealth of other experience and want you to know some of the projects that we've done are incorporated into this project. That experience with the fire stations, the police department, court buildings, city halls are all projects that we've done and elements of those projects. We want you to understand that. In fact, Scott right now has a very applicable project. Scott, you want to tell them about that?
Sure. Yeah, right now I'm working on a project down in Grand County in Moab. It's a court and jail remodel, but working in close quarters, historic part of downtown Moab, and in a historic building. We've got control and dispatch and a lot of the things that we anticipate will help and kind of dovetail well into this project.
Our two most recent city projects that we wanted to highlight is a fire station for West Jordan City, and that was recently completed, and then most specifically a very similar project for this Heber City, where Steve was the superintendent on that. Very successful project, and in fact, we've got a great relationship with them, and we wanted to bring a reference with us, and so I'd like to introduce Chief Booth from the fire department there. Police department.
Things got really well once we brought Hogan aboard to help with the public safety facility here in Heber City. We had a large task of identifying subcontractors and other contractors to help with the construction of our building. Hogan was invaluable in that process of identifying good subcontractors that helped us through this process and conducted different areas of expertise. Steve Spencer was absolutely wonderful to work with. Steve Spencer's a great man. Steve Spencer really became part of the Heber City Police Department family here with the department. He easily integrated into the city. He was easy to work with and really had a can-do attitude. Anything that came up that was unforeseen or unexpected, Steve was able to work with us and help us through the process. I think the world of Steve. We have since called Steve numerous times since the building has been completed with different questions that have needed to have been answered, helping us understand what subcontractors worked on certain areas, where certain pipes lie, where lines are ran. And Steve always answers. Steve is always very willing to help us, and Steve is always there to support and continue to support us even after the project is complete. We were on a very tight budget. There was a lot of things that needed to be done, especially as we were moving from one building to the other. I remember one particular case in point that we needed to move some of our items from our old building and install them here in the new building. We were unsure of how to do that and the best way to do that. In typical Hogan fashion, if you could call it, they brought some workers up. They alleviated that stress that I had by putting their workers to work to make that transition happen. As that occurred, there were other things that came up that they continued to help us with. Interestingly enough, I never saw a bill from Hogan for that. They were just happy to help us make this project happen, keep us within budget, and really did their best to do that at all costs on their part. And we really appreciated that. Hogan is wonderful, and I would recommend them to anyone who is looking for a contractor to oversee their construction project.
So I hope, well, it's good to have the law on your side. And I hope you had a chance to call our references, really hear from the people we work with, you know, what their experience is like. One of the things that sets us apart as a company is the emotion and the care that we take in these projects. We put the personal effort and the emotion into the project, not only to make your staff's job easier, but to bring the best value, and that's what translates into that, because we care about the project, and we want a reference like this when we're done. Let's see. So Steve, why don't you tell us a couple of details about that project?
Well, first of all, thanks. It was really a great experience. It was really a great experience working with Dave, Chief Booth. I really grew a big appreciation for our law enforcement and what they go through every day. There's a lot of challenges, as there is in this project. They're similar with a new project going into an existing building next to existing project, as that's where the police department was during the whole construction process. As you can see, Main Street was also next to it. It was a busy place. There was also neighbors, so we had a good neighbor policy set up. I myself went around, met the neighbors, sent flyers, so that I was always close by if anything came about. There was a lot of different specialty items in this. There was interrogation rooms. There was also evidence areas, vehicle bays, special construction, ballistic sheeting, bulletproof glass, and it was a great experience. I've had a lot of jobs, and I've worked with a lot of people, and it was really enjoyment working with the local law enforcement up there.
One thing that I noticed as we were going through slides and looking at the aerial view of Steve's job there in Heber City is the similarities between that and your project here. Again, we're in tight neighborhoods, kind of a downtown city center. They need to be very conscientious of the neighbors and the traffic, and then also the tight site and the working in close proximity to activities that will go on in the city, very critical activities, especially with the fire station. This is kind of the way that we see keeping that fire station in service, and we'll need to kind of surgically take down this building, is because we're kind of guessing as far as what the phasing and things might look like, but a couple of the challenges, there is the park, and we notice every time we've been down here, there's always kids playing right here, and we want to be very mindful and obviously do everything we can to either to protect that via barricades and adequate fencing, or work with the design team and the city on making sure those areas are closed or whatever is the best for the city. Like I said, it's a tight site with parking and staging and things. There will be a challenge. We're going in with our eyes wide open on that one. We've looked at some solutions. There's this property here to the north that we know is potentially available. Also, like the horseshoe pits and places like that. And we'll work closely with the city on their needs to make sure all that is mitigated.
Let me say, also just 2 blocks to the south, we've identified a church to try to help mitigate the construction parking of just vehicles for workers too, that so they're not out on the streets.
Absolutely. One of the items that we've kind of identified, we've been down a few times surveying the utilities here and looking at this building in particular, and trying to understand what some of the challenges will be in keeping the fire station in service. We have within our company ground penetrating radar, people trained and equipment. We'll be able to bring in and get a good look, and so that we can make sure that we're able to surgically take this part of the building down and keep these guys in service. Working with the design team and doing that. We've also been already talking with the the city utilities, and understanding where things are. We've been down mapping things out visually ourselves. Noticed a little bit, for example, there's a point of interest. We noticed this sewer line here marked on the utility plan. There's actually a gas line that's not marked, a rather large gas line coming off this street and serving this building just off this corner. So we have been involved. We are very excited about the project and want to take that knowledge of it right off the get-go and help the owner and design team.
In addition to that, up there on the Heber project, we were able to recycle the existing building structures, as you can see in this picture here. We grinded it all up, removed the old building and used it as backfill material, which saved big cost savings. We also do a lot of self-perform work. We do concrete, steel erection, utilities. So when we bid this project, we will also be putting in an estimate for that. And if we become low bidder, or if the sub cannot perform, we are able to move in.
Let me give you a number on that. On the grinding up of the masonry, that was savings of around $30,000 off of the savings from imported material that we didn't have to import. So that becomes significant, and there's an opportunity here to do similar.
And here you can see this is a project that we're actually just about to complete. It's just a couple of weeks from turnover right now. It's the Grovecrest Elementary. I understand at least one of the city council members attended the Grovecrest. It's on the web page. You can't blame us, right? This is a similar site. We do have a great working relationship with the city and the school district here, but we have you can see how tight these buildings are together. It's obviously a very sensitive workplace with an operating elementary school, and then the lay down area was basically right here. The lay down and parking was very limited, and it really went. The project went as a whole without any major issues or impacts to the school. They were very happy and are very happy with that project. Hogan is a full service CMGC, and so that means that we're not just a general contractor that can sign a CMGC contract, but we have all the services in-house, and we have had for many years. This full services that you guys will want as you take this project from where it is today to through construction and then through closeout. Ross Cox will be talking more about that here shortly. We're very interested in schedule. Any ways that we can help get you guys the building more quickly, working with the architect and design team. That's exactly what we want to do. We've looked at the base for the project, and we believe it can be done in 12 months. We'll work with the architect and bid packages or whatever it might be to accelerate that if it's desired. One of the major risks that we're facing in the construction market right now is just there's a ton of work out there, and that leads to a shortage sometimes of manpower. We are pretty good at managing subcontractors and mitigating some of the negative effects that come from that kind of a labor market. We have regularly early and often communication with subcontractors. When those things, if they fail, we like we've said, we self-perform a lot of work. We're able to help subcontractors when they need it and bring that in. We have greater working relationships with the subcontractors. They like working for us, and we've often been able to come in and help out. where needed.
One of the things also, Ross will talk about pre-construction, but making sure those subcontractors early on know about the project and can have a kind of plan on that and have it slotted for their schedule. The other thing we do is help arrange sharing of manpower, particularly with certain trades where there's just not enough. We have the relationships with other of the same trades to help them share manpower and bring them to the project that we need done right now. And sometimes we have to be the bad guy and make them perform and supplement their work.
Absolutely, and we can, like Chris said, we can be the bad guy. We like to be the good guy especially for the owner. And like Chris said before, we like the relationship part of this. It's seeing the people that we'll be working with, whether it be your staff or maybe some of you throughout the project, and dealing with you on a day-to-day and building those relationships is really what makes mine and Steve's job a lot of fun. I'll let Ross talk a little bit now about pre-construction.
That's me. I'm Ross. But what I really want you to know about how Hogan handles pre-construction is it's not one person. There's a whole bunch of people involved. You saw Mark Jensen's face. You saw Dave Anderson's face. We all work together as a pre-construction group. And it starts with leadership and communication. We actually have just been working with JRCA, the architect, and the collaboration that we already know how each other works is a wonderful thing that we already have in place that will then lead to cost control. And we talk about pre-construction philosophy. It's to save you money, not just you, but your taxpayers. As we talk about that, we have blue sky meetings. That's let us know what's needed and let us know what your dreams are. And it's up to the architect and up to Hogan to help that become as much of a reality as possible. Wants first, needs if possible. Nope, other way around. Needs first, wants if possible. We identify construction challenges, whether it be schedules, and we minimize that from the very beginning. It's important we do that so that we don't have people on the ground spinning their wheels. We also like to approach it as a value design rather than a value engineering. And again, your architect's great at that. They get in there and we evaluate where we are on the budget from the beginning through the different phases of plans, and we're able to keep you up to date on what the cost is going to be. It's so much easier to do that than to come back later and try and revamp the program.
So one example of that we can see on this project, just one for example, we talked about the reusing of the masonry and grinding that. Another one is kind of a similar thing with the asphalt parking lot. To tear that up, grind it up, rotomill it, leave it on site, and use that either as structural fill or under the new paving. Just a quick order of magnitude on that. That could probably save $30,000 on this project.
When we talk about pre-construction services, these are some of the things that we want to highlight. And I'm not going to read them for the sake of time. You can see what they were. Technology. Hogan and Associates is always interested in pushing the envelope with technology, and you can see what some of those things are. We've talked about the radar. Earthwork is something that we self-perform, so we're very comfortable in evaluating that and making that a net win rather than kind of a lost leader as far as construction.
You mentioned what you see on this site related to that.
You know, the fact that we have so many different levels, it's the thing that we want to do is use those top two, which is to balance the site. We don't want to take dirt off that we don't have to. We don't want to bring in dirt that we don't need to. And by doing that, if we were to reference a much larger project, the one that we have just been working on with JRCA, that's a 17-acre site, but there was $500,000 in savings just to balance the site, just keeping trucks off the road. So there's definitely potential here with the different levels of earth that we're talking about. All of these things in pre-construction that we've been talking about, we have seen 7% in savings. That's just doing our due diligence from the very beginning, working with the architect and working with the owner, and that's the Hogan way of doing pre-construction. We take it from the very beginning, knowing what your fixed limit of construction costs are, going through the program with the architect, evaluating design changes, keeping your needs in mind and eventually providing you with a guaranteed maximum price. And for us, the biggest thing that we can promise you is honesty and transparency. We want you to see the budgets. We want you to be in on the design and the meetings. We want you to be there when the bids are opened, and we want to give you copies of those bids so that you can see what's going on, so you can help make decisions with contractors. If we do that, then we have a great experience with you as a city, with the architect as part of your team, and we're able to have those references that we've already shared with you. We talked about JRCA. This is the project I was telling you about, and it's been so, from my standpoint, sometimes it's difficult to work with architects to keep things in budget, but I can tell you that JRCA is phenomenal in taking feedback from the owner, from the general contractor, and implementing it quickly. It's been a wonderful project and something we hope to continue on this one.
Hey, council questions?
When you spoke about transparency, you said it was important to keep us in the loop. How do you typically do that?
So as we go through, thanks. So as we go through the different levels of construction documents, we will keep you, or whoever your contact is, you receive all of those budgets. And we review them in meetings, and the architect has them so that we can see where we're tracking and we can get feedback from you. Sometimes we have to make tough choices and we have to change, materials and things like that. But that's one of the ways. And obviously having you there on bid day, finding out which subcontractors you have worked with in the past that are, that you want to work with again, maybe those you prefer not to work with again. That's another way to keep you in the loop and being transparent in our bidding process.
I was just wondering if maybe you have some kind of a cloud-based repository where you put...
We do, actually, and I'm going to turn it over to the project manager who plays with it all the time.
Perfect. Thanks.
Yeah, actually, I'm glad you asked the question, because that was something that actually, as we were talking about our interview, I said, do we want to talk about this? Because I think it's a really great thing. It's we use the Procore project management, and it's a web-based, and we share access with any team members that need it, and on there you'll have Steve gets on there every day and does his daily logs, subcontractor meeting minutes, safety, all the project pictures and things like that, and then whatever level is really needed by the plans. Yes, thank you. That's all kept up to date on that, and that's our main.
That is something that's really exciting. That's construction industry is a little slow to adapt some of this technology, but it's finally coming. And so all of our superintendents, project managers, project engineer all have iPads. All the drawings are uploaded, and all the RFIs, all the clarifications from the architect are all put on there and instantaneously sent out. So all the subcontractors, everybody has current information right there on the site as they're walking around. That's a great question. It's very exciting.
Other questions?
Just a comment. When Chief Dave up in Heber, when you're not around, he says the same thing.
There you go, Steve.
And he takes tours like there is so much excitement when he, and look at what we did here, and we were figuring out this, and it was just like that. So.
And it makes it sound like, from the end, looking back, you kind of just see how well everything turned out. The process, especially in the beginning, as you're going through, it's not always just smooth sailing, and we feel like it's our job, as Ross talked about, with the honesty and the transparency. If we think there's a problem, we'll tell you, and we'll bring up what we think are solutions. We'll research additional materials or alternate systems or whatever we need to, but we're not going to hide the bad news from you.
So just a case in point, really quick. The evidence, he said, just come in this evidence room. This one is for drugs, and smell that. And then this one is for firearms. And then this is how we do meth, and brings over the sucky air right out of the building. It was fantastic. Anyway, it was a little big vacuum with a funnel on the end of it.
Talk to me about your value engineering without redesigning, going through that process and that.
Okay. You want to start? And then
Sure. So obviously we try and avoid that, but inevitably we seem to have some of that comes up. And And case in point was the project we just showed you, the West Jordan Public Works project with JRCA. If you have the right team, value engineering is fast and it's easy. And it was a joy to work with JRCA because they were open to feedback. So we start looking at everything from the thickness of the slab. Do we have to have it reinforced as closely as we do? Let's start talking to all of the architects, consultants, and make sure that we're still within all the regulations and guidelines that we have to. But at the same time, are there options to make it, more cost effective? Is there something that maybe the subcontractor would recommend to us? And we love to reach out to them. We'll often do that in the design phase so that there's less need for it later on. Yeah.
I think that's a really astute question, because with as hot as the construction market is in Utah right now, many projects are over budget. And that's just the fact of how it is. And so a key for a good construction manager is to identify that early, and what is our budget, what is our estimate now, and how does that compare to our budget, and what can we do about it. And so alternating or suggesting researching alternate systems, alternate materials. For example, there's some of the exterior skin materials are now starting to be produced here in Utah, rather than paying an exorbitant amount for a brand new material that's somewhere else. Now it's starting to become here, and so we know about those and can bring those to the table. And that's one example of dozens and dozens.
Anyone else? Well, we want to thank you for preparing and taking your time to submit the bid. Obviously, you're on the short list. We'll probably be making a decision later this evening.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Wish you could keep talking about this project. It's exciting. Now, do I give you?
Thank you, gentlemen. That's impressive. Thanks. Impressive that you bring your whole sound system. Make sure the technology works and bring it all. That's good.
Yeah, once they start going, I'm not worried. You don't use your own equipment.
You never know for sure. Yeah, it's a good.
So we bring everything just in case.
Thanks for the presentation. It's really good to meet you.
Thank you. We had more time to tell you more what's in our head about this.
Well,
that's
yeah,
right.
just in case.
We had
But thank
to
you
have
so much. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Good question. That's astute. Thank you for your comment. Nice to see you.
So,
Okay. Somebody's not hurrying.
Uh-oh. We're down there. We are, but that's okay. We're gonna catch up. Well, we won't catch up, but we'll be okay. We have to get through all the presentations, and then we'll make the decision in 20. Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Good trip down.
Yeah.
It counts, but nice to meet you.
You almost ready, Dennis?
this is Gifford to Eric. You did? Oh, yes. When I just skedaddled. I'm old school. My mom used to say to skedaddle my butt.
All right, we want to welcome Big D, and what we're going to do is when you use this microphone, you have to kind of talk directly into the tip, so you can move it up and down, but that's the main thing. We'll give you 20 minutes to present, and then we'll have 10 minutes of Q&A. All right? There you go.
We good? Can you hear me? Okay. I can do a squat. Better to hold it? Okay. I'm getting the word to hold it. Okay. Fantastic. Well, we are really, really excited to be here. We know that this project has been a very long time coming and will be a great blessing and benefit to the residents of Pleasant Grove. So we're very happy to be here. Let me start by introducing our team to you so you know who they are. You've got their pictures, but Gifford Briggs is our vice president of our Linden office, and Gifford, the buck stops with Gifford on this project. He is ultimately in charge. Brandon Eccles will be your project manager. Jared Christensen will be your superintendent, so he'll be full-time on site every day, so you'll get to know Jared's good-looking face quite well. Trevor Hunsaker is your project director and also your pre-construction director. So he will be with you working through pre-construction all the way till ribbon cutting at the very end. Ben Williams is an estimator, and he will work with Trevor on pre-construction and estimating. And I'm Dennis Knuckles. I am over business development and client satisfaction. So we make promises to you, and I help make sure that we fulfill and live up to those promises. So we've got a little PowerPoint here. We've identified 4 project goals for this project, and the first is to provide insightful input to develop creative design solutions. We know that one of the reasons you're using this CMGC process is to get valuable input from your contractor. So that is one of our goals. The second is to provide superior pre-construction services as it relates to the phasing of this project, the cost, the schedule, and the impacts on existing services. We know that police, fire, courts, they all have to carry on. They've got duties and protection to provide to the citizens, so we understand that they cannot be interrupted. So we will work around them and with them. Number 3, during construction, to provide excellent management of the schedule, of our budget, of quality and safety on the project. And finally, to provide Pleasant Grove City with unmatched communication, transparency, and fiscal responsibility. And Gifford will talk a little bit more about that at the end. So obviously one of the things that's going to be very important to you is hiring a company who has experience, who knows what they're doing with similar type facilities. I won't go over all the numbers here, but as you can see, both our public experience and our CMGC experience is vast. The construction is part of the issue, but pre-construction is a big, big deal. You need somebody who understands pre-construction and has a specialty in that. As you can see, we've got $6 billion of CMGC work, pre-construction. So we know what we're doing. We understand what you need. We understand how to work with the architect. So we picked a few projects to highlight that have some relevancy to this project. So these first 2 projects are both with Jim Child, JRCA, the architect that you have selected for this project. As you can see, this project is the Vernal City Police, Justice Courts, and City Hall. It's almost exactly the same size, both cost and square footage, to your project. The next one is also with Jim Child. This is the Holiday City Police and Justice Courts building. Ben Williams was the estimator on that. Again, that's with JRCA. That involves police and courts. The Northview Fire Station up in Pleasant View, Jared Christensen was our superintendent on that. So Jared understands both fire and police. He built the $23 million Weber County Sheriff's Complex. So that's 170,000 square feet, large facility. So he is very versed in building similar type projects. This is a project up at Hill Air Force Base, police station, fire station, and police dispatch facility. Both Trevor Hunsaker and Gifford Briggs, who are on this team, worked on this project. This was a design build project, which very similar delivery method to the CMGC process that you are engaging in. Fort Bliss is the second largest military base in the United States, and we built their police and fire station. Again, almost exactly the same size as this project, 52,000 square feet, 14.9 million. Trevor and Ben were both involved in that. That too was design build. We were key in pre-construction there. And then you've all seen this facility. $70 million project. This is the Matheson Courts and Police Facility. This is one of the largest public facilities in the state and also the largest courts and police facility in the state. That's just to give you an idea that we know what we're doing. We understand these types of projects, which we know is very valuable and important to you.
Hi. Let's talk for a minute about pre-construction. Everybody gets excited about, seeing construction happen, but the reality is you're hiring someone to provide valuable pre-construction service. That's the beauty of this process that we're going through right now. We like this quote by Abraham Lincoln. I mean, what presentation is complete without a quote from Abraham Lincoln? He says, "Give me 6 hours to cut down a tree and I'll spend the first 4 sharpening the axe." And that just epitomizes what we're talking about here. Prior to us turning dirt, I like to say the magic happens here. This is where we make the project successful, budget-wise, schedule-wise, everything or not. So we're big believers in this, and we're very good at it. In fact, I would claim that we're second to none in the state of Utah when it comes to pre-construction. In fact, we've been told that by BYU, who keeps hiring us to do that. So you can expect a very robust pre-construction services from us. Ben's going to address real quick some of the deliverables, some of the things you can expect to see from us as we go through that process.
First of all, I just would like to say I'm very excited about this project. Just about a month ago, I was actually coaching my son's basketball team in this building right here. I'm very familiar with this locale and excited about the opportunity. Also excited about pre-construction. The collaboration, the synergy that's created in the whole pre-construction design, cost, budgets aspect is exciting. So I think that's where you get the power of all the minds that are involved, all the end user input, and it's exciting to see it take place and to move forward. As we work on the estimates and the pre-construction, what we'll do as the design moves forward is we provide takeoffs and quantity takeoffs, and we get real-time cost estimates to help guide the design so that it meets the needs of not only the end users but also meets the budget. And we are very proud to say that our budgets are usually very accurate. Go to the next slide. What we typically do in pre-construction, we'll provide a budget estimate at the 30% design phase, 60% and 90%, and then also at the very end. And as we do so, we analyze the budgets based on the past costs, and we get very detailed in this portion of it, which is exciting because everybody, all the end users and everybody that's involved with the process gets to have input and help to guide the whole process along. We also, through this whole pre-construction phase, we utilize what we call a value engineering tracking log, which helps create and itemize basically a shopping list of options and things that you can do that will cut costs or potentially create more efficiency in your project. And we found this to be very effective in helping to keep a project under budget and with the right design. This is an example of how we put our bids together at the very end once the plans are done. This is a scope analysis sheet which it shows the different subcontractors. For example, this is one from BYU. I think it's the Masons on that project. You can see the number of subcontractor bids we had on that. What we're trying to show here is basically the transparency involved with Big D's pre-construction. We provide all the information that we have from subcontractors. As a team, the whole pre-construction team gets to be involved with the aspects of the scope of work for each division of work, and we decide together what the right choice is moving forward as far as costs go. We also feel that we have a bit of an advantage competitively with costs because of our relationships with in the past and in the future for subcontractors, and Trevor will talk about that.
Yeah, so just to wrap up the pre-construction, I like to use this slide because it kind of demonstrates you're selecting a contractor based off a very small picture of the costs. The ultimate costs of this project are going to be driven by the scope of the work and the quality and quantity of bids that your general contractor is able to deliver. So if we have great relationships, that benefits you, and that's our commitment to you. Big D has excellent relationships and our buying power. In a busy market, subcontractors take care of the generals that always give them work. That's one of the advantages of a bigger contractor. And we get great pricing. I mean, we're very strong-handed with our subs in holding them accountable to deliver what the documents show, but we're also fair with them because for them to deliver and to be successful, we need to be fair, and that ultimately benefits you. Big D has great sub relationships, and we're able to deliver on that promise. The other thing that I want to point out is in the duration of the project and in closing the project out, because of the work, the volume of work Big D does, you may have a sub that's finished his scope of work and he's moved on, and we have an issue with warranty or something. If he's got 4 other projects with Big D throughout our company, we're able to leverage those subs and pull them back and say, get back here, or we're going to financially take care of you on that. We're able to hold them accountable to deliver on your project, and that's a key thing to understand when it comes to the subcontract costs.
Yep. The other part to a good pre-construction is a review of the documents, and we've had a lot of success on projects like this that have multiple stakeholders with a lot of different interests, competing interests potentially in the project. And one of the tools that we use is called Bluebeam Studio, and it's a cloud-based collaborative design review process. There's a free viewer, so everybody that has interest in the project and wants to be able to comment on the drawings are able to review the drawings and not necessarily having to try to find times to get everybody's schedules to mesh up to come to a review meeting and try to get that input. We've had a lot of success at BYU doing that. Next slide. This is a project we're just finishing up at BYU, and you can see the drawings. We have clouded and the comments that are made on those drawings, and that's from multiple stakeholders in the process. So it can be contractor, it can be architect, it can be the user of the space. And the nice thing that Bluebeam does is that tabulates all of those comments into a organized fashion, so you can see who made the comment, what the comment is, and we can take that feedback as a group, as a pre-construction team, and decide what action, if any, needs to be taken on each of those comments. Maybe there's a more efficient way to build something that's coming from a subcontractor, or maybe maybe there's a change that needs to be made by the fire department because of some equipment they need to store somewhere, and it's been very successful. We spent a little bit of time kind of playing around with some concepts and ideas. We met with we actually came out here and met with your firefighters and walked through the building and kind of tried to get a feel for some of the concerns that they have. And these are just kind of some ideas that we had of potential options, and I think you can see them on the back of your form also. But this is a kind of a no phasing single building option. One of the concerns they brought up was that the large fire apparatus that needs to be able to pull all the way through the fire station, and so we created this blocking and kind of a way that they would keep that bay open and still have access to it during construction. And then kind of phase 2, this one's kind of a little bit more crazy. Was to try to keep this whole building functional and operational, where you'd maybe shut down a block here and build a building between the two. That way you could build both of those buildings and then demolish the old building once you had your new space ready to go. And this last option is a phased option where you'd build the fire station, get everything that building needs to, everything that needs to be in this building out into that building, and then demo and build the second phase of the building into the court and the sheriff's office area. So those are just kind of some ideas, and we realize that this is preliminary. I think the intent for us is to show that we're creative and we're thinking about these things, trying to understand what your needs are. But ultimately, we want to work with you because you guys know what your needs are best. And I think as we identify those, we want to come up with strategies to accommodate the needs of the city and your continued operation.
Very good.
let's just get started. No matter depending on what option you pick. Excuse me, this public speaking is, I'm a much better builder than I am a public speaker. I'll tell you that much. But no matter what option you pick, for me as your site superintendent, there's some key things that we got to pay attention to. Number one, with the location of your facility being right close to this public park, we're going to have to be able to protect the public and keep them safe at all costs. There's probably some big summer events that we got to watch out for, and just some miscellaneous things we got to make sure that we're running a good, tight, safe, secure job so that we don't have any accidents there. A couple of the other things that I need to pay attention to would be the traffic patterns coming into the job site and around the job site, so that we don't impact any of the activities or any of the buildings or amenities that you have around the job site as well. This goes along with our laydown areas and our job site location offices and things like that, making sure that everything's contained and safe, and we don't have any impact to any neighboring folks. One thing that's key, one of our first goals that we committed to was safety on our projects. And to me, I take safety pretty personal. It's not only the guys on the job site, but also the public. And a big D, we've created this program we call the Think program that's really helped heighten our awareness of safety and a few things. And what it basically is, not to get into a lot of detail, but before you start each task, you sit down and you think through the task, and you identify the different hazards that each task has. And then you try to neutralize them by putting some proper protective equipment on, or putting up some barriers and things like that to protect the public or protect the workers. And so this just is a great tool to allow us to help think about safety first, and how our safety and our activities are going to impact the folks here on site and the folks that are outside our gates. Another good key thing that I love to touch on is quality. We owe you a quality job. I take pride in what I'm doing. We're building a fire station here. That's more than just a building. That's a second home. And when I built the Northview Fire Station too, I had a lot of pride in knowing that these were for the servicemen of the fire department, that this is their second home, and they had a lot of interaction, and they were excited about the job, and it made for a neat experience in that. And so in order to manage the quality on the job, one of the first key things that we do is I like to grab my subcontractors the first time they're on site, and we sit down and we do a pre-construction meeting with them, where we'll go over the scope and make sure we don't have any scope gaps, make sure they understand the scope. We'll go through the means and methods. We'll verify their different, make sure they have the right, like water fountains, toilets, all that stuff meets the specifications, and we go from there. And as we move throughout the project, we have different inspection programs that we use. We inspect the walls before buttoning them up to make sure we have everything in there. Ceilings, we make sure we have that as well. And then in correlation with the subcontractor meeting, we also have what I call a first work in place, where as the subcontractor goes out and they start working, we go out there and we inspect it and make sure that we're meeting the manufacturer's requirements of installation and that the quality's there. We also offer some mock-ups and a few things. And a lot of that, what that does is help minimize our punch list items at the end of the job. We're being able to take care of stuff as real time as we go along. And we have some programs that also help us to accomplish that.
So this is a screenshot of one of the programs we use to help manage quality on your project. Our team, we carry iPads and we're out in the field, and anytime you're walking around and you see something that needs to be addressed, instead of walking away from it and wait until the end of the project when it's frustrating for everybody to try to get the project finished and see the quality, we drop a pin on there. It brings up an entry log here that we enter what the issue is, who's responsible for it, and we start managing and tracking that right from the get-go on the project, so that at the end of the project, you've got a quality product. And that walk with the users and with the architect is really more cursory. I mean, you're going to go through and they're going to find very few issues because we've been managing that along the way instead of trying to leave it at the end and people getting frustrated with quality. the other part of it, and both of these to me tie to satisfaction. You know, you can be a great contractor, but at the end of the job is kind of what people remember, and it's that quality, and then the service that you get when we walk away from the job. Warranty is really important to us. We have a website that's proprietary that we've created called the eWarranty. And we use this to manage so that it's a one-stop shop. You don't have somebody having to try to find a phone number and then get handed off to somebody else if you have a warranty issue. Inevitably, at the end of a project, you're going to move into a building. Things are going to need to be adjusted. You're going to have a few things that need to get fixed and addressed. And what this does, you go in, log in, you put your issue in, log it in, and this whole team, even though we may have moved on to different projects, will get an email notifying us that there's an issue with Pleasant Grove and we need to get it taken care of. We have some dedicated warranty folks, but we can help them get pointed to the right subcontractor and get them in there and take care of those warranty items quickly. And it's important to us, and we want you to be satisfied even after we're gone.
Okay, so to wrap up, and we're just about done here, it's my job to be to make sure that this. I work for you guys. The buck stops with me. I'm the executive in charge on this project, just down the road. And to make this project successful, communication is very, very important. All of our team here, 90% of them live within 5 minutes of this project. And communication is a very important thing. It's so important that, I mean, we're willing to, I mean, we're going to be communicating with your development team. We're going to be communicating with your owner's representatives, giving just very, very specific updates. Go to the next slide. The next, architects, that's a very important part of communication, the design criteria, the end users, making sure you have multiple stakeholders in this project. So it's very important that they're communicated with very, very precisely. And we're willing to come here. You guys are, you represent the citizens of Pleasant Grove, and you account to them, and we're accountable to the citizens as well. So we're more than willing to come here on a consistent basis to give you an update on the project and to be accountable to the public and to be as transparent as possible. The last part of communication is just communicating with the public from social media standpoint. If we're more than willing to provide the information to put up to your social media, to let the public know what's going on. We know that 40% of the people of this city have voted against this project. I mean, that's a large contingent, but it did pass, and we feel like that we're accountable to both those who have voted for it, those who voted against it, to make sure that by the time this project is finished, 100% of the people are satisfied with it. And if we need to put a camera on the site, and that happens quite often, the cameras, they can run 24/7. People can watch it get built if they want. That's a very common thing that happens. So in the end, it's very important to us to give you this commitment. Communication, transparency, and fiscal responsibility. Fiscal responsibility comes with being transparent and making sure that your constituents understand they're getting the very most for their money. And they're only going to be satisfied with that through transparency. And that's what hopefully what we've tried to do through this entire presentation is weave through all the transparent processes that we have as a company that is our corporate culture and our core that will provide what I think your constituents want is an end product that is fiscally responsible and gives the city exactly what they need. And at the end, all of your stakeholders are happy with it. So we're willing to open up with whatever questions you have, and whoever it pertains to, they'll just come to the stand and they'll answer it.
Okay, council.
Dennis, I'm gonna mess with Jared just a little bit. I think you ought to have him do more public speaking. He's pretty good.
Yeah, I was gonna say, dude, help me get my practice in.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to mess with you. You did a project in my hometown, Twin Falls. But you took over my old hunting spot with it. So
in Twin Falls,
I won't hold that against you.
Oh man, I did. I did a bunch of work up there in Twin Falls.
Yeah, you did. Yep. So it's good.
Yeah.
My
Is that
question,
it?
No, yeah, I just wanted to mess with you. Sorry.
Oh, okay. That was the easy one.
My question is again. I've asked it on value engineering without redesigning. I don't know who wants to answer that.
Really, the key to that is Ben showed you that spreadsheet that was kind of a shopping list. The key to that is to never get to the point where the design is done wrong. You have an accurate budget. You know, if we're looking at a curtain wall or a various, you know, different type of flooring system, we give you valuable information, accurate information. You make the decision. You never get to the stage where you're over budget and have to redesign. That's the key.
Can you tell us about your accuracy from 30% design to 90%?
Yeah, typically what we'll do is once we establish the layout of a project, we'll get input from subcontractors, so it's real-time cost information, and we'll track that as we move along from 30 to 60 to 90, and we'll compare the 90% estimate to the 30%, and all along we'll be tracking, and typically we're within a pretty close margin.
Like what's
as we go
pretty
through.
close?
5%.
Okay, and then on this options page, you're looking at phasing versus no phasing. What kind of cost savings or more expense do you see going either way?
And if I could add to that, timeline adjustments too, with the phasing versus non-phasing.
The timeline, obviously, everybody needs to keep in mind this is very rough. We're kind of spitballing here and did this in short order, but
Yeah,
so
but it's number
very
2 on
rough.
your
everybody
list,
should
I
know.
mean.
You're ready to build, huh? From a timing standpoint, the single building option, we're probably in the range of about 12 months. If it was to be phased, where you do the south building and then do the other, you're probably 8 and 8, so about 16 months. From a cost standpoint, the 2 buildings is going to be more. It's going to be your most expensive option just because there's less efficiencies. You're going to have 2 elevators most likely. You're going to have more exterior skin, utilities, all that. It just adds up. And even though the phasing would take longer, you know, maybe 4 months or so longer, it's probably not going to overcome that. But that's just a rough idea. Obviously, as we get into pre-construction and really run some accurate numbers, that's more of a gut feel just based on what we know now, which is very high level.
Okay, thank you. Other questions? Thank you. You guys have done a great job. We appreciate you having the guts to come to your hometown and apply for a job. No, not within 5 minutes.
We see Dennis like once a month anyway. We'll be able to hold him accountable.
So we're going to probably be making a decision this evening in our executive session or when we come out of executive session, but thank you for putting in your bids.
Dennis, why isn't your picture on here? Dennis,
Did you?
why isn't your picture on here?
So do you keep in contact on Facebook or anything? Have you seen his family, his wife, and his children? Oh, that's right, I forgot. He is. So I think he has the 6-girl thing too. I think he had 6 daughters or. So I know it was very similar.
That Mucinex D thing, what it is, but. Layton's a no-show? What? Oh, Scott, you're hiding them from us.
They're in the green room? Oh wait, that's mold.
You need to be doing it.
So I was laughing about my, so I turned to him and said, I want my own hard hat.
Hello.
I live 2 blocks away.
Good. Welcome.
Gentlemen, thanks for coming down.
How are you? I have a little bit of something going on, so I'll just say hi. I'm Sid. I have a little cold thing going on, so I'm just going to say hi. Nice to meet you. I have like a little cold thing, so I'm just going to say hi. Yeah. That's right.
Thank you.
Hi.
How are you? Jordan Gilman. Nice to meet you.
I have a little cold thing, so I'm just going to say hi. Thank you. Thanks so much.
How you doing, Mike? Hi, Eric.
Hi.
I'm John.
Diana.
Good. Hi, how are you? Jordan Gilman.
Yes, I'm from Hawaii. Jewish back in Boston, that's it. You around here? Oh, okay, great.
We'll have to give some allowance.
He's got an advantage, doesn't he?
I'm afraid not.
Hey. One of those guys on the first.
My ancestors crossed the desert.
Defer to the mayor.
Yeah, that's just not fair.
I thought when Hogan put up that little screen shot that looked like a free screen for a movie, you know, I thought, did they do that for Mike? Did they know his profession?
Be right here to my side. Wait, where's Jeff? Oh, there he is. Yeah, we can't.
I know. This is cool.
Yeah, I'm going to have to recuse myself because I'm presenting.
Mike Daniels cannot. Mike Daniels, me, Mike Daniels. We also have a volleyball coach in town who was state champion for years and years and years. His name is Mike Daniels too. Clearly successful. I'm going to go home and rename my kids.
Yeah. I have several sons named Josh. No. Ready to go? Okay. Well, we want to welcome you and thank you for taking time to prepare. You're on the short list. You're also the last one this evening. We're going to give you 20 minutes to present, and then we're going to go into Q&A. Okay?
How close do we need to stand to this?
You're going to have to hold that right close to your mouth.
But you can pick it up, and so that you don't have to just look hunched over the whole night.
I can barely talk and chew gum, and here we go. All right. We are so excited to be here. Over the past 63 years, I think, Layton Construction has had the opportunity to build municipality buildings throughout the state of Utah, and actually throughout the country. We've built fire stations, police stations, city halls, rec centers, parks, public works. And we've learned over the course of all those that each one is different. Each one is very important to their community. For example, let's look at Pleasant Groves. There is a historical component of this that we need to consider. Okay? There's a sentimental value. You can see that in the look of Jordan's eyes. He grew up in Pleasant Grove. His grandfather there at the bottom is a Gilman. Looks just like him. And many of his family went throughout all the school systems here in Pleasant Grove. There's Jordan, number 11, on the front row. Jordan grew up playing basketball in your gym. He was heartbroken when he heard that was coming down. I think he's told us that his family will be there the day after Strawberry Days when that comes down to see if they can collect a brick or not. It's Pleasant Grove's first fire station. Where's the chief? Okay, how exciting is that? In the history of Pleasant Grove, they've never had their own brand new fire station. That's exciting. Economic growth will come from this. I'm not sure how, but it will come by having the proper police and fire facilities, as well as, most importantly, the quality of life for the citizens of Pleasant Grove. So thank you for getting to where you are today. It comes down to risks. You hire us to manage the risk for the city. That's what we get paid to do. The first, we've listed 5 here, and we're going to talk about each of those. I'm not going to do all the speaking today, thank goodness, but the team behind me is the team that will be addressing each of these risks. I'll talk about the first one. One of the risks you have to address as a city is the project team. There's a lot of good general contractors, but it's only as good as the team that you get that's on your job. Let me tell you who's assigned to your building. Mayor, there's one name here that I bet you won't forget when you go home tonight, and that's Mike Daniels, our vice president. I would encourage you to ask to our past clients to learn about Mike's involvement on all of his jobs. He's not a vice president who shows up at this meeting and then you never see him again. He's at every meeting in pre-construction and construction, okay? He's supported, or the rest of the team is Johnny and Dave. They're the project manager and superintendent. Dave lives about 1.5 miles away. Johnny lives in Highland.
they are very interested in the success of this project. They've also worked together. In fact, every member of this team behind me has worked together on a recent municipal building there at Cottonwood Heights, and we'll talk about that in a minute. On pre-construction side, you have Rick, our estimator, and then Jordan and myself, the pre-construction managers who are involved, because that pre-construction period really sets the tone of the rest of the project regarding quality, regarding cost, and just different expectations that have to be met. This is a team that, like I said, has worked together, and there's a lot of advantages of that happening. This is the only contractor in the state of Utah who attends and supports the Utah League of Cities and Towns. I'll be seeing Scott and Diane like we do every year, the 1st of April. Why is it that we're the only ones who support that organization? It's because we feel it's important for us to understand what it's like to sit in those seats. I don't know if we'll ever be in those chairs, but it's important for us to understand the true risk the city council goes to have a job like this. So we support that and made many great friendships because of it. We felt it was important to show you the experience of the project team, not of Layton Construction, but of these 5 individuals behind me. Okay, that's represented in these slides or in these pictures. This is a team that understands the proper slope of your floor in your fire station to make sure there's drainage when the snow melts off of the trucks, or that the ceiling's high enough so that they can work on the engine with the doors of the facility closed. They understand the importance of the security and the difference, how important it is to get someone with legal challenges in and out of the building without interacting with your public. This team gets it. They've done it. They've proven themselves. And then as Layton Construction, here's several of our past municipal projects. Many of those are fire, police, city hall projects, similar to what we're building here in Pleasant Grove. Best way to understand a team is to work with them. And you haven't had a building where we've had the chance to work with you. So I wanted to introduce you to John Park, a fellow citizen of Pleasant Grove, and what he had to say. John just got done working with this exact same team on his new city hall and police station. The first paragraph there, and you have this in front of you, is that this is a team that protects the owner. We're watching out for you. In John's words, we've got your back. Okay, I think that's important for you to know. This is a team that is proactive on our budget. Okay, his middle sentence there says the project was delivered under budget and on time. Very important. There's a lot of eyes watching this project to see how we do on this one topic. Other words, he said it was outstanding and proactive. Key traits you want from your contractor. This is a team that's proven to be community-minded, whether that's the Cub Scouts or the citizens. On Cottonwood Heights, there was some residents directly next to the project that weren't too happy to have the building going in next to them. At the end of the day, one of them brought a Christmas present to Johnny's project in Harriman. That's the kind of relationship this team creates with your citizens.
Question is, what was the present?
It was sardines and crackers along with some cookies that they used to make for me. So we had sardines at lunch a few times. They were elderly. It was awesome.
I don't know if any young generation eats sardines.
It's old school.
This is a team that's proven to keep the people such as yourself informed, the city council. They've done this through numerous ways, through tours, through public presentations to you, and through even Facebook events. And we'll talk about that here in a minute. This is a team that takes project ownership. Dave definitely has ownership, driving past it every day. But also, John talks about an experience where the fence blew down over the 4th of July weekend. And who showed up to fix that? It was our vice president. He doesn't live next or even close to the project, but he knew the importance of it and the safety aspects and the professionalism that having a uprighted fence can be. So Mike took that upon himself. That's the kind of vice president as well as team that you can expect on yours.
All right. So I'm Dave, and I'm way excited about this because, like Jeff mentioned, I'm a mile and a half away. So I would be very sad if I didn't get this, and or if we didn't get this. My boys going to PG, they would say, "Dad, you failed. You didn't get it." And then my little guy, he was at Canyon Grove Academy. So every time we drive past that thing, we sing their little song. But I won't sing it to you tonight. But anyway, I love what I do. Being a superintendent is difficult. It's dealing with a lot of, sometimes tough people, but I love the outcome. And what I do up front, I want to mention what I did on some of these jobs right here, because I've built courthouses and fire stations and police stations. Johnny and I on Cottonwood Heights, like Jeff just mentioned. But what I did on one of the fire stations I did in Arizona is I went to the fire chief and said, what's your expectation? And he told me what that was. Same with the owner of Chandler. I said, what's your expectations? Well, they said that. I set my goals off those expectations. And then I went to the sub and said, hey, these are the expectations. We have to hit them. So there was the trench drains, the concrete in your bays. Perfect. That's what he wanted. So I poured the concrete late in the project instead of pouring it with the rest of the slab. And it ended up being a beautiful slab, right? That was important to them. I would do the same with you. What are your expectations? And I would follow through on that. They had on so that was the fire station. On a fire admin building I did for Chandler also, they had a memorial and a museum that they wanted to build. And it was way cool. Again, I say this means a lot to me because I've done it and seen these people, how emotional they were when we built that memorial, right? So we put up the statues, and it was full of firefighters and the police department that have fallen. So very cool, and again, close to my heart. And my brother is a cop in Australia, so we like policemen too. Again, expectations, I talk about that a lot. I will set the expectation, I'll follow through. When Johnny and we talk about the neighbors, and they were a couple of elderly people right behind our trailer. Again, they didn't want us there. We went around, said, hey, I'm Dave, call me anytime. Again, they loved us because they brought us sardines, and anyway. So the site, Jordan and I came the other day, and I just wanted to talk about this just real quick. It's very, 100 East, a lot of cars going through there, a lot of vehicles. The park, a lot of people there. I would protect your site. I would protect those people. And again, I'm a mile and a half away. You could call me and I'd come running. But Cottonwood Heights was the same thing. We had a lane. Those elderly people did not want our subs going down that lane. Set the expectation. The subs didn't go down there. They loved us and brought us gifts. So hopefully you'll bring us some gifts too. But anyway, again, the benefits to you for me is that I really am looking out for you, like Jeff said. I will do that. I'll set that expectation and I'll follow through. So that's, I guarantee it.
So as Jeff mentioned, I'm Johnny. I'll be your project manager, and along with all the projects I take on, I have three main goals that I try to achieve in these projects. And the first one is be on budget. The second one is be on time, and the third is to make sure that I'm communicating. That's probably the most important one because it facilitates the other two. Making sure there's predictable outcomes. So as we talk about this, we've talked a little bit about Dave and the site and communicating with the surroundings, communicating with you. A big part of my role is starting right here. And one of the ways we start to create predictable outcomes is we have what we call a camp. And in that camp, we invite the stakeholders or those that are affected by this project. The police, the fire chief, the city officials, all those that are either displaced or having to deal with this for the next year. We have all of those folks in a meeting. We sit down and we discuss how this affects each of you. We go through, well, what does that mean for each of you? We make a little plan and we execute that plan so that, well, like David mentioned, around the site, you've got fire doors, your trucks need to get in and out of the building. We got to keep that accessible. How are we doing that? Those are the kind of things we'd address in those early meetings before the project starts so we hit the ground running and we can get going. We start this out with the meeting, and just that was just an example of how we can make sure that we're providing predictable outcomes. That's one of the things that we do. We do several things. For example, predictability has a lot to do with daily communication, especially with you or the city manager or those officials, the project manager, those that we're dealing with daily on the project. I have a personal relationship now with John Park and Brett Wood. We talk every day. There's nothing I know that they don't know the minute I know it. And a lot of that is just for simple communication. No surprises. No one likes surprises. Everyone wants to be in the loop. And as we move forward, we do that through weekly design meetings. We're going to talk, Jordan will talk a little bit more about our communication as we develop we develop the design with our architect and we have to update those budgets and the costs. So we'll deliver that weekly to you. And again, Jordan will go deeper into that. And I will communicate daily about these things. One of the things we've done on Harriman was our community outreach. We did a Facebook live feed walkthrough. So we took the council and the mayor, walk through the building and let the citizens watch the tour. We've had community tours on site. We've also had council members show up. The police are very interested. The fire department's obviously going to be interested. We'll have those guys on site, and it helps with site security, safety, just the involvement of the citizens, seeing people coming and going. The police cars parked in the parking lot when we're taking care of the project. That's a big deal. Another thing that we do is we have community outreach things. We have the youth council or the city junior, what's it? I have it written right here. Thank you very much. The student government. We have them come and participate in like a Earth Day. We had to plant some plants and put some trees up. That was a big deal for them, and it was a community. We want to draw in the community because this really is their building, and we want to be part of it. And Dave, as Dave mentioned, when we're here, we live here. We're part of this project, and so if something real happens here, we're here with it. We want to be part of that. Again, I want you to have confidence that you can depend on me and have the information you need real time so that any point you know. And what in general, you just know. You know the budget, you know the schedule, and you know what's coming. So there's no surprises.
I want to commend you on your architect. Jim Child is an excellent architect, and he'll serve you well. We've had an opportunity to work with Jim and Danny on several projects. Did I say it the way you wanted me to say it? It's important we have a great relationship because the job depends on it. And we've had an opportunity to work on over a dozen projects together, including one right now for the state of Utah. And I think you'll attest to the following slides. You've probably heard tonight each of your contractors address pre-construction because it's such a vital role. There's a lot of eyes that will determine the success of this project if we keep it within the $10 million budget, not a penny over. So we're committed to that. Let me tell you how we're going to do it. The traditional role that you may have seen is where the plans are drawn, and as those plans are drawn, they enter different stages such as schematic design, design development, construction documents. And each of those design times, your CMGC typically comes and provides a cost estimate. Well, the problem with this is it doesn't work. Jim's seen it. He lives it every day. We've had jobs with Jim where we didn't do it as well as we should have. I want you to see how we've reflected on that and how we've changed and we're improving. And we're doing a job right now with the cost estimator that is on your architect's team, Glenn Beckstead, okay? And I know has talked to Jim about it, and he's told us we're the only ones doing this, and how refreshing it is, and how we're reducing risk for our owner. Here, and it comes down to 5 things. Number 1, responsibility matrix. 2, value target design, and so on. I'm going to talk about the first 3, okay? It's a process that where in the traditional role, if you find out your project's over budget at DD, Well, you just wasted 3 months of design, right? And the architect gets very frustrated because the contractor shows up and said, well, you added something that I wasn't anticipating. So now it's over budget, you're frustrated, you have to reduce your scope in order to get into budget. So one of the things, and Jordan and I are going to talk about this, it's important at the very beginning, so on day one, we need to address who is doing what and what budget covers what. This whiteboard, is it in your construction budget? Does Jim need to account for it in his design? This is a 3-page document to identify what Jim needs to design and what I need to account for in my budget. Utilities, is that in my budget or is it in the city's budget? It's never the same on any project. The benefit of this is there's no changes. There's no surprises at the end of the day. And we're having very deep and meaningful conversations early on so that we don't have any uncomfortable situations after that.
So as Jeff mentioned earlier, I'm a 4th-generation Viking, so I'm glad to be here today. So as Johnny said earlier, he's got to provide a predictable outcome. Well, in order for him to provide a predictable outcome, we have to provide a predictable estimate budget so that come bid day, there's no surprises. So what we'll do here is we actually create a value target design, and we get together as a team with the architect and the city council and the design consultants as well, and we set target values for everything in the entire project. And those target values will total your budget or less. And that's then allows Jim to go and design to those budgets so that when we go through this process and those big gaps that Jeff talked about, we don't have surprises at the end of the day. It's a faster, more efficient program, and it allows all of us to buy off on that process, and we all come to that agreement. So we don't have those arguments at the end of the day. So how this works is we'll actually group, like we'll take the envelope together, for example. We'll look at materials, methods, means, and figure out what the best process is to get down to that target budget. So we'll start out with 4 and work our way all the way down to 1. And then we'll move on and do that through every single assembly and system throughout the whole project. So once again, no surprises come bid day. Here, what you have here is it looks like a BIM model through MEP coordination, but it is a BIM model. This is a 3D variation of your project. It actually shows you what's going on. You can notice that we see different skin materials, different roof processes, different elevations and steel pieces. We get this, we'll ask Jim to be invited to his weekly design meetings. We'll ask for a model every Friday. And on Monday, I can go through and actually take the information that they've worked on their progression through design, put it into the system, get dollar values out literally that afternoon, and we can track that budget as it goes through design. Just last week, we actually had a scenario on this project where he got the model, our estimator went through it and found out, holy cow, we're $150,000 over in glazing. They're immediately able to call the architect, start going through that process and figure out what happened, where the progress changed that he didn't have, it was over his target value. They then were able to look at it and see there was an error in the model. Oh yeah, you're right, we didn't have glass here, we actually had a mason wall here. I'll go through and correct that. So it's almost immediate and allows us so that at the end of the day, it's a predictable outcome and there's no surprises on bid day.
This is the best team to deliver a successful project for you. And, you know, I love working with these guys. They're my friends, and they're dedicated. They will do a great job for you. We'll be competitive on our fee when you open that up, but we may not be the lowest. Our fee is a small percentage of the total cost of the project. And my goal in this effort, in any CM project like this, is to make sure that I bring you enough savings to cover the cost of my fee. So that's my goal always. I'm gonna earn that fee by bringing that savings to the project. We bring our experience and our knowledge to the project, that we have extensive experience from these guys doing these type of projects, so that you can make the best decisions, the best value decisions. This morning, Johnny and I were over at an owner's meeting with an architect there at Harriman City, and we're moving well into that project. We're about 75% of the way through, and I'm proud to say that we're really close to being able to, that I could say, yeah, I've earned everything in savings to match what our fee is. That's the value what this team will bring.
the decisions that we can make, the help that we can give in that to be able to make the good decisions. One of the things at Provo Power, when we just did that project, it was very historical in nature to them. A lot of people loved that old building and had seen the smokestacks there for years. We first got there to the project before we were selected and we're walking around. I saw this emblem that was on the west face of the building. And I said, we could save that. We could take those stone off of that building and be able to save that. After we were selected, I met with the architect and we said, let's see what we can do with that. And he was able to design that into the project because they love that, being able to keep the historical nature somewhere in the building. And that's what that wall is that they were able to save that piece. It became something that was very nice, that facade for the facility there, for the people in that neighborhood. On Cottonwood, working with them, when we were first estimating the project, and we were going through very early in the project, Mayor Cullimore said to me, looked me in the eye and he said, can you guarantee me that you will not go over budget? I had to say, yes, I'm going to guarantee you. And I'm happy to say that we were able to do that. That project, we were able to save enough money so that they were able to purchase their AV system. And at the end of the project, I was able to give a check back to them for $15,000. They were still under their budget, $15,000. That's the kind of effort that we will make for your project. This team is the best team to give you the best value for your project. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to introduce ourselves and get to know you a little bit. Are there any questions that you have?
Council?
Mike, will you guarantee us you won't go over budget if we hire you?
I'll guarantee it.
Thanks. An impressive presentation.
I'll ask my value engineering. So value engineering about, I've been asking it about not going back to the redesign. I think you guys had something with value target design in there. Maybe, Revens, can you talk a little bit about that?
This value target design, do you want to take it? Go ahead.
The goal is not to have value engineering because that means you're going backwards and cutting things that you wish you could have had. So through the program that we talked about, by identifying the budgets with Jim and his team and then designing towards those budgets, those were done before the pencil hits the paper. So we're all working towards the same goal. And then if there's an aspect that you wish you could have but don't know if it can fit into the budget or not, we'll continue to track that. I'm trying to think of an example on Harriman or City Hall. But we tracked different scope that they wanted, knew they couldn't afford, but during the course of the project, we'll continue to work the numbers and find ways to pay for it. And then you as a council can make an informed decision if, yeah, the money's realized now, the contingency's gone back to you, let's use that contingency to put back into the project and gain more value.
In your transparency and your daily communications, you have ties to the public being able to access the internet and see the progress, timeline, pictures, etc.
So at Cottonwood, Cottonwood had their own public administrator that handled that. At Harriman, they have one, and we just work close with those teams, and we would allow them. At Harriman, they do a drone fly around. I think it's at least once a month, if not bi-weekly. We've had several, like I said, Facebook conversations. In terms of a website, we'd be happy to help, get that going in terms of on your website, help you develop, give you documents. I'm going to write weekly report to give you an update. You could post part of that, like an owner update. You could put that on your newsletter is what we've done. Yeah, and a time-lapse camera.
At the end of the project, they showed the time.
You mentioned, I think everyone's mentioned working with Jim, all four of the applicants. How about with Dave Holdaway? Have you folks worked with him? He's our owner's rep.
I think a part of our company has, our remodel company, I think has worked for the district when Dave was there. But we're excited to be the first as well. Layton in general does not build a lot of schools.
I see. Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, well, we're going to go into executive session here and discuss everyone's qualifications and see if we can. Sure.
We are on trial, right? We're in the youth court.
Well, at least it's not litigation. But yeah.
The best kind of trial there is. Thank you for letting us be here today. This job is personal. Mayor, I've been in the community meetings where you've pled to your citizens to that how important this project is. I've seen how personal it is for you. I've met with Diana and realized this is important. This is very personal to each of you. You have a lot riding on the success of this project. We understand that. We get it. I understand when I met with Chief Thomas how personal it is to him and how excited his crews are. He's assigned groups to go out and research different aspects of police departments because he wants to get it right. He's got one chance to get it right. I asked him what fire station he likes in Utah that we could go tour. He said, I haven't seen one that I like yet. That's personal. He's taken ownership, and we can't wait to be a part of that. So thank you for letting us be a part of it. I think we are the team who can give you a predictable outcome, and we take it personal as well with Jordan. He's been all over this because of his family ties, and as well as Dave. We got to make sure his daughter continues to see him as a hero. So thank you. Thank you.
We'll save the picture. Okay, thank you. All right, we need a motion to go into executive session. Specifically to discuss character, professional competence. Can you read that? Thank you. Yeah, fine.
Make a motion to go into executive session to discuss the character, professional competence, or physical or mental health of an individual.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Eric, a second by Ben. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are going into executive session. First, we'll take a little bio break and